awful circumstances, sad, sorrowful circumstances. So, wrapping it up on T-Wolves, if you're a true T-Wolves fan, you are looking to these last 10, 11 games of the regular season here, and you want wins. You want competitive team basketball with wins where LaVine and Wiggins and Towns and maybe even Rubio are all getting in on the act and becoming clutch and learning how to win games on the NBA level. It's one thing to learn how to play basketball on the NBA level. It's another thing entirely to learn how to win games playing basketball on the NBA level. And that is the Timberwolves' biggest hurdle, not getting more talented players on the team. That's not it at all. So just a quick look at the Timberwolves schedule here, and then we'll take a quick look around the league and go from some balls dribble to some balls on ice. But like I mentioned, the Timberwolves here on Friday take on the Washington Wizards in Washington. That game will start at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. The very next night on Saturday, feel Saturday, how many songs have the word Saturday in it, man? Just realized that now. Anyway, on Saturday, the Timberwolves will be back at home at Target Center to host the Utah Jazz. And then they have Sunday off, and Monday they get to stay at home to take on the Suns. And then next Wednesday, they have their third home game of that homestand against the Los Angeles Clippers. Then we've got at Jazz, hosting Mavericks, at Warriors, at Kings, at Trailblazers, and the final two games of the season coming up in the second week of April will be hosting Houston and hosting the Pelicans. So let's take a look then around the entire league, check out the standings, how the playoff picture stands, and where the Warriors are in chasing history now. If you didn't know this or not, the all-time record for best regular season in NBA history is held by the 95-96 Chicago Bulls, who went 72-10. And the Golden State Warriors still have a chance of obtaining that record. They are 64-7. They can lose 3 more games, win 8. They have 11 to go. If they go 8-3, they will tie the record. If they go 9-2, they will break the record. And I saw their schedule the other day, and it doesn't look like they're going to lose any of the next 5 or 6 games. So keep an eye out for that. And I want to say that at this point in the season, for the Bulls back in 95, that they had one more loss and one less win than the Warriors do. So the Warriors very much on pace and possibly going to make history this year. So they are, of course, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, but not all that far behind them. Only 4 games back of the best ever in history is the San Antonio Spurs at 60-11. So they will miss that record at least by 1 game. They win out their 11. They won't win out, though. Popovich will not allow that. He will sit people and make sure that they are locked in at that 2 seed. Warriors will be locked in at the 1 seed. Then 14.5, another 10.5 games behind second place Spurs would be the OKC Thunder, who are 50-22, a phenomenal season by any other year, and would be good to contend for number 1 in the East if they were in the East. But they are not. Then in 4th place in the West, we have the Clippers, who are 43-27. Ideally, if I could be the basketball god's puppet string master, I would have the Thunder lose out here in the regular season and the Clippers win out, so that your 1 seed would be the Warriors, your 2 seed would be the Spurs, your 3 seed would be the Clippers, and your 4 seed would be the Thunder. That way in the semifinals, you get the Warriors having to beat the Thunder to earn their spot in the Western Conference Finals against the Spurs. But the way it's looking, the Spurs and the Thunder are going to play each other in the conference semifinals for the opportunity to take on the Golden State Warriors. Warriors will get whoever wins between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Memphis Grizzlies. Then locked into the 6th seed, most likely, but not completely, is the Trailblazers. Portland Trailblazers, the one overachieving team on here that I didn't have in the playoffs for the West. And then your 7 seed is the Mavericks, and your 8 seed is the Rockets. 6 seed Trailblazers, 8 seed Rockets, only 2 games separate them, and the 9 seed Jazz have the exact same record as the 8 seed Rockets. So tight race for that ace spot, and tight race for seeding 6 through 8 as well. And also Clippers and Grizzlies in a little bit of a battle for who's going to get to host that first round matchup. Yes, and like I said, the only one of those teams from my preseason predictions that I did not have in the playoffs would be the Trailblazers. The one team I had in their place would be the Pelicans, who just started out awful and have not really been able to recover. Out east, 76ers, they're 9-63. Wow, somebody check the all-time worst record in an 82 NBA game season. Wouldn't that be something if the best team ever and the worst team ever played in the same year? But anyway, number 1 seed in the East is the Cavs, as it's been all year, but not far behind them, within catching up range. It's possible. 2 games back, the Toronto Raptors. Then in third, we've got a little bit of a cluster, you-know-what. We've got the Hawks at 42-30, the Celtics at 42-30, the Heat at 41-30, and the Hornets at 41-30. So there could be a 4-way tie for third place going all the way through the 6th seed, which is, by the way, currently now the 6th seed is the Charlotte Hornets, 41-30 on the season. Over the last month and a half, they have been the best team in all of the NBA, and nobody knew it. Unless, you're an actual Charlotte Hornets fan. Then maybe you were. But then in the 7th seed, a little ways back, we've got the Indiana Pacers, and holding on to the 8th seed are the Detroit Pistons. In the 9th spot, a game and a half back of the 8th and final playoff seed, is the Chicago Bulls. Holy guacamole. And 2.5 games back are the Wizards. So there will be a race for that final 8th spot. However, the Bucks, Knicks, Magic, Nets, and Sixers are all out of it. Wizards and Bulls trying to stay in it. I would love to see both of those teams make the playoffs over the Pacers and Pistons, especially the Pacers. I'm not big on the Pacers, but, Anyway, how cool would that be? I think a Chicago Bulls squeaking into the 8th seed, taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers as a 1 seed in the first round. I think that's a really fun, interesting first round matchup with a 1 seed that we rarely get in the NBA postseason. And it's possible that Indiana or Detroit could make fun, interesting watches out of that series as well. Washington, I don't think they have the size to play for an entire series with the Cavaliers at all, even if it's a shortened series. But anyway, boom, there is your balls dribble for the NBA, and let's get icy, let's get cool, let's get chilly, let it go, let's get frozen. Time for balls on ice, and we'll start the balls on ice off keeping it professional, because that's what I try to do here. I try to keep it professional. Anyway, so we start with my and possibly your Minnesota Wild, who find themselves taking on the Calgary Flames tonight. And it just so happens that, yes, in the course of the show, as I was recording this, it went from, lunchtime to the, late night Thursday night. And I happen to know that the Wild were victorious tonight against the Calgary Flames. They win by a score of 6-2. Nicholas Backstrom was the goalie tonight for the Calgary Flames, and we pretty much lit him up. I want to say it was 2-0 at the end of 1, 4-2 at the end of 2, and then 6-2 when it was all said and done. That makes it 4 wins in a row here now for the Minnesota Wild, winning by the first 3 of those games, all by 1 goal or 1 score, winning tonight over the Flames, and former Wild goalie Nicholas Backstrom comfortably by a score of 6-2. And that brings up our next game being the biggest one on the schedule. We've been looking at this one for weeks now as, boy, this is one that's going to be a swing. You got to have this one if you want to get into the playoffs. You can still get into the playoffs without it, but man, It'd be a lot better if you get it. That is this Saturday in Colorado against the Avalanche, and it is a 2 p.m. in the afternoon start on Saturday for you Minnesota Wild fans. Like I said, this is the biggest game of the year, of the season, because this is who we're directly competing head-to-head with for the 8th and final spot. We have no chance at the 7th spot. We can get the 8th spot. That's it. And we're competing with the Avalanche, and it's been neck and neck, back and forth, and this game will be, the winner of this game will have a huge advantage in ultimately capturing that final playoff berth. Now, the rest of the Wild schedule is as such. Not a lot of games left. 2, 4, 6, 7 games left now that the Flames game is over. Like I mentioned, Saturday, the big one at 2 p.m. in the afternoon against the Colorado Avalanche in Colorado. Then it would be on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I believe. 3 days off, 2 days off, 27th and 28th will be off for the Wild. And then on the 29th, they come back and they take on the Chicago Blackhawks for one final time. God dang it. I thought they freaking were done with them for the year. I thought we played them like 4 times already, and it was done. But nope, it looks like we got one more game yet to officially complete the regular season sweep of the Chicago Blackhawks. That will be on the 29th, and that is a home game at XL Energy Center. So Jess and Garrett and all the other Good Luck Wild fans, Pat and Jeanette, Officer Sloan, everybody I know who loves to go to Wild fans and are state of hockey fans, and are your good luck charms when you go. Some of you, at least I know, are. Get out to that Blackhawks game on the 29th. Wild, man, it'd be huge if we could sweep that after beating the Avalanche. We're going into the playoffs. We feel like we've, overcome our daddy, and now whether we're the 8 seed or whatever, it doesn't matter. In any playoffs, it doesn't matter what seed you are when it comes to pros, but especially hockey. 8 seeds make it to the Stanley Cup Finals in hockey. It's not uncommon. But then after that, the schedule gets significantly easier. We'll have the Ottawa Senators, who actually gave us a little tough time a week ago. That'll be on the last game of March, on the 31st. Then on April Fool's Day, we will play the back end of a back-to-back in Detroit against the Red Wings. And then the final 3 games of the season will be on the 3rd of April at the Winnipeg Jets, the 5th of April hosting the San Jose Sharks, and the 9th of April hosting the Calgary Flames. So, I mean, honestly, let's see, 1, 2, 3, we got 4 now, and there's 7 games left. I shouldn't say very possible, but it is completely possible that the Wild go into the playoffs on an 11-game winning streak. This is not a difficult schedule here now at all. Really, the only games that should even be tough would be the at Avalanche, the Blackhawks, at Red Wings, and hosting the Sharks. But all those games are winnable. All those games are winnable. Those 4 are the tough games, but every single one of them winnable. Looking good for the Wild right now. Feeling good right now if you are a Wild fan. One small note I would like to make from the game tonight is Thomas Vanek was activated for the game for the first time in 4 games. He had missed the past 3 games. Not with injury, just being inactive because he stinks. And he's supposed to be really good, but I've never seen it. And of course, we were 3-0 with him inactive. So then when I seen him that he was active for tonight's game, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. But alas, we won the game anyway. Not quite sure how he did specifically, but I do know that the Wild as a team had 3 different power play goals, something like that, in this game. So very good offensive game for the Wild tonight. So taking a look then at those ever-important playoff standings that I mentioned, and the Wild now are 3 points ahead of the Colorado Avalanche for the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference of the NHL. That being said, the Avalanche have a game in hand on us now. We have played 75 games. They have played 74. So if they were to win both games,